Okay, continuing on, the second clip of the video of the reading. So we're still in chapter 1. So the assembled younger children crouched near his chair, even though they knew that they would be redirected. My children, you know the rules, don't you? Yes, sir, yes, sir. The sullen voices were accompanied by their instantaneous obedience. Feet scraped the ground as the children inched backward. Alhaji Olomawewe always insisted that they sat outside the brush of the tree to avoid coconut-inflicted head injuries. An impressive number of young men and adults had also assembled behind the children, each having brought his own chair. Alhaji observed that none of the female women who usually partook in the storytelling were present. He guessed that they must be busy with their house chores, cooking supper, and taking care of the family as usual. After a satisfactory safety inspection of the children and ensuring that he was seated close enough to the tree trunk where coconuts could not stray, Alhaji cleared his throat playfully. He nodded at the two boys, Gabriel and Abdusalam, cradling the gong talking drums under one arm and holding the sticks with the opposing hand, just like this, signaling the commencement of the storytelling event. They started beating the gong talking drums, gifted to them by the neighborhood Anya, professional drummer. The children responded with bobbing heads, shoulders, and arms flailing, arms and hands in rhythm to the familiar melody. Alhaji signaled the drumming, and the drumming stopped. And he started, "Hello, hello, 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 hello." The crowd replied in unison with the drums. Alhaji stretched the sound like an elastic band. The last one. The audience and the drums following Alhaji's cue replied louder and longer. Young giggles and deeper chuckles accompanied the response, backed by a series of drum beats. Hello, Miller Gbagbo. Oleri. So the children surrendered to wild excitement, knowing that the suspense was over and their adventure was beginning. The drums infused the air with thrill. Ní ìgbà kan, once upon a time. Time, story. Once upon a time. Time goes, time comes, day overtakes another day. The audience recited the familiar response. Thousands of lunar months ago. Alhaji paused for effect. His amused eyes once again danced over the listeners. He smiled, basking in their full attention. He rested his gaze longer on the usually fidgety 7-year-old Kunle, who had been nicknamed Ara Obale because of his hyperactivity and inattentive disposition. Alhaji smiled at Kunle and gave him an approving nod. Kunle returned an ear-to-ear grin and remained as calm as Omiamu. Water stored overnight in a large clay water vessel, and is attentive as the elderly village mediator. And many tortoise generations ago, Labake, as usual, raised her hand, requesting permission to speak. Alhaji gave a knowing smile, looked at her, and glanced at the pastor. They exchanged smiles, thinking, we know she's going to ask questions for sure. Alhaji signaled to Labake to proceed. She stood up, respectfully placed her hands behind her back, and cleared her throat importantly. Daddy, sir, why do you always say many tortoise generations ago, sir? We all know that each lunar month is 29 or 30 days, and 1,000 months equals 83 years. But we don't know how long a tortoise life or their generation is. Good question, Labake. Good question. Labake grinned happily and curtsied at Alhaji. She glared Obi at a couple of boys who had accused her of interrupting the storytelling to get attention. They glared their Obi back at her as she sat down on the mat. Obi. You just want people to think you're smarter than everybody else, right? They often complained. That's not true, Labake retorted. The feudal exchange between the boys and Labake didn't go unnoticed. Thank you, Labake, thank you. No question is a stupid question. It gives everyone the opportunity to gain deeper knowledge on a subject. Well, we say that because turtles are among the animals that live for a long time. Many of them live longer than 100 years, if not killed. By the way, do you know that the longest living tortoise in the world right now lives in Nigeria? Several eyebrows were raised. Really? Many voices responded. Where in Nigeria? Lagos? Ibadan Zoo? The North? Really? Yes. In this very country of yours. Which state? Which city, sir? Please tell us. Tell us, sir, pleaded the younger children. In Oyo State, Alhaji announced brightly. Those whose native hometowns were in Oyo State broke in loud cheers, while the rest of the children made a pseudo-disappointed sound. What part of Oyo State? They wanted to know. Alhaji glanced at his friend, who was beaming. It is not in a zoo. This tortoise is considered royalty because it lives in the palace of Oba Shoun of Ogbomosho. It has been living there for about 300 years. History tells us that it was brought into Shoun's palace in 1770s by the third king who resigned after the kingdom of Ogbomosho was found. Oba Ikumoyede Ajao. Suddenly, the audience heard another voice interrupt Alhaji, and their heads turned in this direction. Can you children guess whose native hometown is Ogbomosho? It was unmistakably the familiar voice of the pastor. Following the rules of storytelling participation, several hands flew up, including Alhaji's and the pastor's children. I know. Several voices shouted. Alhaji's lips spread from eastern ear to the western one, lifting his high cheekbones in two oblong buns in his face. Pastor James said, No, I am not from Ogbomosho. I am from Ibadan. I know your guess is because of the tribal marks on my face. A broad smile spread across the pastor's face. It is my good friend here. He pointed at Alhaji. The children who knew Alhaji's hometown nodded, while those who didn't know made an surprised sound. Thank you, dear pastor, my dear pastor. Yes, indeed, my father is from the Laoye dynasty, which is one of the ruling houses in Ogbomoso. Like I said earlier, the tortoise Alagba has been part of the palace household for almost 3 centuries. Labake raised her hand again, but was too eager to wait for permission to speak to be granted. She asked, so, why do tortoises live for such a long time? That's a story for another day, Labake. You know I have told you many stories of Ijapa, the tortoise, right? Bẹ́ẹ̀ni sir, yes sir, chorused the children. One day, I will tell you all about Alagba, all right? The drummer signaled the end of digression with a series of talking drums instructing the continuation of Olurounbi. Chapter 2. I skipped many pages and I'm in chapter 2. Chapter 2's title is Lẹ́yìn Ìgbéyàwó, after the wedding. The couple had been married for 3 years without bearing a child. The name of the bride was Olurounbi Odetaye, the groom Ayo Ajani. In their homeland called Ilugidi, it was unacceptable for a young couple not to have a child within the first year of marriage. The families of both Olurounbi and Ayo became increasingly worried. Why haven't you brought a baby into the world yet? They were often asked. Some of the town folks even taunted them and enviously gossiped about their closeness. How can Olurounbi and Ayo continue pretending to be happy when they can't even have babies all this time that they've been married? Others would express annoyance when they were seen holding hands or chatting cheerfully under their favorite guava tree nearby. Their own parents even declared that they were hiding their faces in shame because of the town's gossip. Don't you want to make us happy with grandchildren in our old age before we pass on? Mama Ayo asked many times. Ayo, Olurounbi, let us know what the problem is so that we can know what to do about it, Olurounbi's mother pleaded. Each time Ayo and Olurounbi replied, Mama, you know that children are gifts from the one who created us all. He will give us our own children at his time. During a visit by both parents, Ayo turned his face to his parents squarely. You have to ignore the town's gossip and nonsense talk, he admonished. We all just need to be steadfast in our prayers and kindness to others, and our wishes will be granted, he said with a firm finality in his voice. Ayo attempted to change the topic to a more cheerful current event, but before he could speak, his father sprang swiftly from the straw-filled sheep wool tim seat and stood upright in front of his son, almost touching his nose. Baba Ayo, a tall man, was proud that his son was taller and more intelligent than him, even though he seldom showed it. He considered it the fulfillment of God. It's the fulfillment of God's benevolence for his offspring to be greater than him, as his people commonly prayed for. He was about to make some utterance when Mama Ayo scrambled to her feet just in time to lay her hand gently on his, the meaning of which he immediately understood. He swallowed hard glanced at his wife, rearranged his facial affect, and forced a grin at Ayo and Olurounbi. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, my son. That is what we must persist in, he stated instead. Ayo could hear Olurounbi's concealed sigh of relief. Well, we better take our leave now. It's almost sunset. It's a good time to pray to our Creator to grant us our heart's desires. Baba Ayo had come to terms a long time ago that he had no chance of going against his wife's advice. She knows how to stroke my ego into believing that I am the captain of this household ship. No one discerned, excuse me, no one discerned his secret smile as he recalled the times that his wife had pampered him in the privacy of their inner chambers. Skipping some pages. One day, when Olurounbi was returning from a nearby market, she heard snickering and taunting from the townspeople. They called her names that did not belong to her, like an empty barrel of a woman. Olurounbi walked into their home with her face all wet and scrunched up. When Ayo greeted her, he noticed the tears streaming down her face. He quickly put his arms around her, sat her down on the bed and asked, "Why are you crying, my love? What happened?" The alarm in his voice made her wipe her tears quickly. "Oh, my dear, it's nothing serious. I'm probably just moody because it's that time of the month, you know." She forced a smile and a wink. Ayo did not buy it because his wife did not cry easily. She was a strong woman, and Ayo knew it had to be something serious. He pressed further until Olurounbi told him of how some people were throwing hurtful words at her as she walked home from the market. Ayo pulled his wife closer, draping his arms around her shoulders, wiped her face with his other hand, and flashed his big smile that never failed to comfort and reassure her of his love. She smiled. He always knows how to console me. Ọlọ́run God will soon bless us with our beautiful daughter who will look just like you, or a handsome son who will be my carbon copy. Don't worry, my love. Soon the whole world will see, and the mouths of those mean people will be zipped up, I assured his wife. Olurounbi chuckled and Ayo joined in the laughter. Olurounbi and Ayo lived in a single-floor edifice constructed with limestone rocks, manually mixed concrete, solid woods, and strips of iron rods and ships. Ayo designed it himself with input from his fiancée at the time, Olurounbi. Ayo, who was living in a renovated ancient Ajani family compound, purchased a piece of land as soon as Olurounbi accepted his courtship on a probationary term after several months of pursuit. She had given him a tough time in order to ascertain his worthiness of her as her husband. She wanted a kind and strong man who possessed the right qualities and character. She refused to be seen with him until he had proven himself. Immediately after acceptance of marriage and the conclusion of the family introduction ceremony, Ayo had the foundation of the structure laid and commenced the building of their matrimonial home. So the description of the house, I'm skipping all that. Okay. So one day, Ayo whispered into her ear and they collapsed into each other's arms. Ayo held his wife close and allowed Olurounbi to rest her head on his chest. I skipped. So this is it. Sorry. One day, Ayo returned from his farm early and met his wife cooking in the compound. Okomi, Kabo, welcome, my husband. Olurounbi curtsied slightly, bending her knees, a gesture that Ayo found both respectful and somewhat seductive. The way she rolled her hips while placing one hand on top of the other above her right knee sent shivers up and down his body. Aya was not sure whether the style of breathing was to balance her gait or to allow the rolling of her hips and the projection of her chest towards him. All he knew was that he loved it, and it made him love and honor her more. Ayo whispered into her ear, and they collapsed into each other's arms. Ayo held his wife close and allowed Olurounbi to rest her head on his chest for as long as she wanted to. She seemed to be checking to make sure the pounding of his heart maintained the same strong rhythm as always. When she was satisfied, she proceeded with the usual, "Welcome, my love. How was your day? I hope work wasn't too tedious. Are you still on target for harvest?" All of Ayo's responses were affirmative. After that, Ayo was informed that his bath water was waiting for him in the bathhouse. Ayo thanked Olurounbi as he walked to the bathhouse at the backyard. Olurounbi hurried to the kitchen. Ayo followed her until she veered left toward the kitchen, inhaling her sweet, intoxicating scents. Olurounbi enjoyed cooking in the outdoors except when it rained. She returned with a lidded pot filled with chopped okra she had cooked earlier and placed it beside other kitchenwares near the adogon, small charcoal grill stove. She opened the steaming pot and transferred pieces of yam into a mortar. After a short while, she covered the pot so that the yam would continue being steamed. Olurounbi, with significant effort, picked up the wooden pestle and commenced pounding the blemish-free white yam mercilessly into the mortar. She added more pieces of yam from the steaming pot and raised the pestle several inches above the crown of her head and brought it down with determined might. Olurounbi's arms, ribs, and back grunted, but her countenance painted a picture of pride. "I'm going to make the smoothest yam fufu swallow for my darling this evening. Igba, igba, igba. Let me do it. Give me the omorogun. Give me the omoriodo pestle. You go and finish up with the stew on the adogon, small charcoal grill, and reduce the firewood on this pot of yam." Ayo commanded, taking the pestle with one hand and steering Olurounbi away from the mortar with the other hand. He had struggled to keep his ribs from bursting with stifled laughter as he had watched his wife fight a losing battle with the mortar, the pestle, and the hot yam. Olurounbi did not see Ayo emerge from the building, nor did she hear his footsteps behind her. Therefore, she was slightly startled and embarrassed. "I can do it, Ayo. Please leave the omoriodo. Leave it. I can do it." "Of course, I know you can do it." He feigned a serious expression. "I just want to help you this time," he pleaded as he gave her a gentle push toward the coal pot stove a few feet away. That's the end of chapter 2. So we'll continue another time. I'll read chapter 3 and read excerpts from the book. I hope you have enjoyed this clip, this section that I've presented from the book. And please, you can leave comments, questions, and whatever you want to know, in the comment section. And also, please, I would appreciate if you share this so that many people can enjoy it. like it if you like it, and subscribe to my channel, my handle. I thank you so much. And also information about getting the book, you can get it online. You can get it from my website. You can get an autographed, personalized autographed copy when you order from my website, which is Princess Sherifat Akorede.com is my full name, Princess Sherifat Akorede.com. You can get it. It's $13.99. The ebook version is on Amazon. It's on Kindle. It's on Amazon, which is Kindle. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on Apple Books, and it's online in different ebook storefronts. Please, patronize me and support me, my work, because this is so. Olurounbi's Promise is the first of a series. It's the first of a series. It's so there's more to come. So this is laying the background, for what is to come. More exciting, stories. The story is going to get really, I'm sure when you finish this first one, I'm sure you would be, like everyone has been doing, you'll be asking for the sequel. And it's in the works. We're working on it. We're getting all the editing and the cleaning up done. And, we'll have a release date out soon. So I enjoy Olurounbi's Promise, an African folktale, sharing my heritage. And I hope homes, families who already have Yoruba parents, they should please speak Yoruba to your children and grandchildren and friends, so we will not lose our heritage. We don't want Yoruba language to become extinct. That's the fear. That's what, the fear is, because a lot of people will just speak English. Or the Francophone countries, they speak French. Those are not our mother tongue. It's great to know other languages. It's great to know English because it's a global language. But also keep your own heritage. Be proud of it. Be proud of your culture. Enjoy the good parts of it. Every culture has its pros and cons. Things that are good and things that are not so good. Take the good things and change those that are not as as good, that are not really good. You can make changes and improve ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again soon. Have a blessed day. Olurounbi.